they have a question for you.
Sure.
From your perspective, what makes the general aviation so feasible and accessible in the United States that so many Americans that are able to fly and to enjoy it and in a very, like, I'm saying, low cost?
Okay. There are a lot of pieces, a lot of parts that I think come together here. Well, when the Wright brothers did the first powered flight back in 1903 here in the U.S., there was no flying, and so there was no regulations, and so there was a certain freedom of doing that because there was no one knew anything about that notion. Over time, people started using airplanes to show tricks and show the capabilities of planes. And then we went through a period where people started using airplanes during wartime, World War I and World War II. But especially after that, a lot of pilots existed, and a lot of people wanted to fly, and airplanes were getting better. And the idea of being able to go from one city in this country to another city that's a long distance away in 1/4 the time, which meant that you had more time with your friends and family, or to go distances that you would not consider driving because it was just so difficult. If you're going to travel from one city to another and had to go through mountains and go around, but you go up and fly, you just go straight line.
Right.
And it's faster. So over time, more and more people wanted to fly. And so you ended up with people flying, buying airplanes like the Cessnas, and they became very, 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 very popular aircraft as people would buy them, and they were very cost-effective airplanes to fly. But another thing that happened is individuals started building their own airplanes. And so we ended up eventually with what we call the Experimental Aircraft Association.
EAA.
And so EAA. Now the certified airplanes, the one that were approved by the federal government, that the manufacturers had to get a license and approval. They had to make them a certain way, for the safety of everybody.
Right.
Then they could not change them much without going through a lot of expense. So most of the Cessna looks the same way.
It is.
A 1960 Cessna,
High
or
wings.
1970 Cessna, a 1980 Cessna. If you get in one, if you get inside one, they look pretty much the same. Well, the Experimental Aircraft Association came about and allowed people to innovate and build their own planes.
Right.
But with the requirement though, that they had to do the testing. They had to let passengers know that that this plane was experimental. I think that fueled a lot of the growth and enthusiasm for people flying, for the average person, because instead of having to buy a plane that was more expensive, someone at their home or the garage or in the airport over a number of years could slowly, at their rate, build an airplane that was faster, stronger, better,
Less regulations.
and with less regulations, because the government allowed that category of airplanes to innovate a lot more. So when we built this airplane that's behind us, it had more glass panels in it than a lot of the airliners.
Really?
So airline captains would come and say, "My goodness,
What is it?
This has more electronics than I do in the jet that I fly." And that's because it did not have the same regulations.
It is.
And manufacturers would build new things that would go in there. Now, as a result of that, what we have is people would take those innovations, companies took those innovations sometimes, and after they had tested in the experimental world, they became part of the certified aircraft world. And so I'm saying that those worlds were operating in parallel. And so now you have people can want to start with a plane. They can get the latest and greatest plane on a budget and be flying, although things have gotten very expensive here recently. Or they can get a highly, very high-tech planes. It costs a bit more now to fly if they're going to fly for business.
So I also have a misunderstanding about sort of an aviation chicken or egg question. So isn't it, so which one comes first? Is it like the individual, like home-built aircraft comes first, or the factory-built aircraft comes first?
Well, the very first airplane ever built was home built.
What's home built? It is.
Yeah, the Wright brothers built it.
That's the godfather of the airplane.
And so, but every airplane that's ever built, the very first one is an experimental aircraft.
Is it?
Yes.
So it's from
Because if Boeing makes a new plane,
Yeah.
the first one they make is experimental. Because
It
they're
is.
testing it. They have
is.
to test it and certify it and prove that it works.
and then it goes on the market.
Then they get all the approvals
Yeah.
for it to be made and manufactured according to those standards.
It is.
And so I say the first, the chicken and egg question is, the first one is experimental. For example, the space shuttle, everyone built was experimental.
It is.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you have to test it before you actually get certified.
Right.
Otherwise, some
A
problems
certified plane means that there's a blueprint that a manufacturer is going to make hundreds or thousands of
Yeah.
them, and now but the public then knows that they're all made to that standard. I have 3 different RVs in here,
Yeah.
and each one is slightly different because when you make it yourself, you're the manufacturer. You
Oh,
make
yeah.
that one.
You're the boss,
Yeah.
determining which
Right.
one's going to be. So that one's left or right seat,
Well, yeah, side by side.
Side by side.
These two, and this is front
front
and
and
back.
back. Yeah, and
Right. This one is the wings and everything. The fuselage are the same on these
Yes.
back here, the one that I'm building.
yeah,
But the canopy, this one is tip up and clear. The one back there is going to be a sliding canopy.
sliding canopies. And
This one's a tail wheel. The one back there has a tricycle gear.
Tricycle gear.
That one's front and back with a sliding canopy and tail wheel.
I thought you have an airplane back there. You have a 4th airplane, right? I used to.
No, I've had my friends' planes in here. And as a matter of fact, you're talking about in China. The two people that I've spent the most time with recently, in terms of being a mentor, were both with Chinese women.
Yeah, you told me one before.
And one I won't use their names, but one I've known for over 10 years now, and she would come in here and to learn more. I remember when she got her private pilot's license here, and I remember that. But since she would come here and learn more, ask questions, and then I'd put her to work, she'd help with the planes and inspecting the planes and working on the planes. And then eventually a couple of years ago, she said, I'd like to get a plane like this. And so we spent time and we found a plane for her, and she bought it. We flew it back and we brought it here in this hangar. And we spent all summer improving it, adding things to it.
Customize it.
Customizing it to make it really hers. Now she's been in the U.S. For some time. I think she's I don't know if she's a naturalized citizen now. But another woman that came from China to the U.S. to take flying lessons.
Really?
Because I think she was told that she was too short. She wanted to go fly. And I think the airlines said that she didn't make the height requirement. Well, she came here, with spend her own money to take flying lessons, and she was having some problems with some of the flying. And the other friend that I know a long time told her about coming here, and she came here, took her up flying, introduced her to people. She got a lot of different tips and feedback, and once a week she would come, and we would go over flying, show her things, take her up in different airplanes, and she got a private pilot's license, and now she's working on her instrument rating.
Is she still in the state?
No, she's still in the States, but she moved to another state, working at a company, in another state right now. And so, I mentioned those two things. Part of what's important is establishing a community of people with mentors, with people that know about flying and can share the experience of flying.
Okay.
And if one of the things about here is that we have a lot of people that enjoy flying at this airport. And so let's say if someone said, okay, for the next 6 months, all I'm going to do is 100% is learning to fly.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing. And they came to Columbia, came here. Well, if that individual, or if it was 4 or 5 individuals, if they said, can we come by the hangar and hang out? We said, sure, come on by. All right. Then they could say, well, what are you doing over there? With that airplane that's being built. And what's that part? Oh, this is it. What's that part? Let me show you this. Now let me explain how this works. Now it's more than what's in the book. Because in the book, they tell you this is what it looks like. In the book, they'll say it's a carburetor or it's fuel injected. But you ask the average person, how does it work? Or where is it on the airplane? They don't know because they just simply saw it in the book.
Okay. Allow me to make a point. So, So you're talking about so from my perspective, I think the biggest differences between the between the China GA community and the American GA community is that the American people is more open to share their stuff to the others.
Oh, yeah,
Like-
absolutely.
Like if in China, like it's almost impossible to like trying to go into airport without being a pilot, right? So you'd have to be a staff, or you have to be like the ramper or pilot to be in the airport. But in America, like, because I was back at school, they're doing all kinds of field trip to JARS,
Yes.
North Carolina,
Right.
and they're just go straight into airport, and people were showing us stuff. Literally, it's what they're doing for work. They were showing you the stuff. And right now, I'm in your hangar, right? And if I wanted to know what engine does this RV6
absolutely.
has,
Right.
what engine it has?
It's an 03. It's an IO340
Right.
and it's from a company Continental, and
It is.
I think Continental is Chinese owned.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting.
It's been bought by a company, I think, in China. I think.
Yeah, and
But-
it is. So,
And the fuel injection system for fuel delivery is from Airflow Performance from Spartanburg, South Carolina.
So that's-
and the electronic ignition is a PMAG electronic ignition.
So now you're telling me everything about this airplane without even hiding everything, right? So that's why I think the American really make the general aviation more accessible.
But people want to share. You know, if you go to an airport, and you walk into any person, you don't have to be a pilot, okay? For example, we have a Young Eagles program where we fly kids for free. I've flown several hundred kids for free, just so they have the experience of flying. But any person could walk in off the street, if they walk through the door and say, look, I want to go over to James's hangar. He told me I could come by. They say, okay, and then go over there, and they come in and say, what's this? I said, this is what it is. What's that plane there? Here's what it is. And once I finish my testing on this plane, I go flying. As a matter of fact, I'm supposed to take you flying in this one. Once I want to test it some more. I always like to, when I put new things on it, I like to test it and test it and test it myself. And then when I go up, I'm focused on the person and the experience that they have. Right?
It is. So that's why it makes it like the general aviation in America a lot more accessible.
Right.
And
well, sorry for interrupting you, but
no,
what I also meant was, if a group is going to start, I think it's important for them to start with an open mind of sharing all of the knowledge with everyone and gathering knowledge from other people. So if anyone, for example, if any of those individuals were to come to this country, or especially come to this hangar, okay, they could ask any questions, get lots of insight, lots of knowledge, and they could take that back. For example, if someone came in here and say, okay, can I talk to you with a video camera? I'd say, sure. And now we're doing this now, but I'm saying if we were walking around the airplanes, if I was working on the airplane, I'd say, sure, you can videotape it, and I'd show you what it is.
It is. So first thing that you say is that if there's a groups of people wanted to start, first thing they have to have is open mind.
Open mind.
Share their knowledge. Just spit everything out to those who love aviation.
Right.
Yeah, that's one thing that we really needs to have in current China general aviation communities.
Because there's no one person that knows everything.
Yeah, no one person knows everything.
You will learn something from every person.